Hey, FootClan, are you looking to play some daily fantasy this weekend? Jump into DraftKings, jump into FanDuel. I encourage you, check out the Ultimate DFS Pass. It is our premium resource, making DFS just a little bit easier for everyone. Premium picks from experts like Jake Seeley, Chris Meany, and Ben Cummins. Our rankings correlating to salary. Tons and tons of awesome things. Weekly DFS alerts. Check it out, ultimatedfspass.com.
This is Melvin Gordon from the Los Angeles Chargers, and you listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome in. Jason is here.
I'm here. My man torn to pieces.
Mike,
I'm here.
Mike is present. Hat Week continues.
Oh, my goodness. Has Hat Week taken quite the turn as well, my friends?
We'll catch you all up on
Yes.
Hat Week. And, I'm here too. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Brooks is pulling the levers, spinning the wheels, pressing the buttons.
And I'm part of Hat Week, too.
Beep, bop, boop, beep, beep,
I am
beep,
really
beep,
left
boop,
out
Oh,
here.
wow.
I
We
look-
turned the mic on over there, and you could hear a little bit of what Brooks does. Zoinks.
His-
Dong,
the
bong.
computer is from the 1950s.
Pretty sure computers even in the 1950s did not go ping pong zoinks.
Have you ever seen the old Batman?
Oh,
That's
a good
exactly
point.
what they
All right.
did.
I forgot about that documentary.
I still always, life goals here. I've always wanted to, be an oil baron type of that kind of wealth, and
Right.
and then hire somebody whose sole job is I put them in an office that has a bunch of levers and pulleys and buttons, and they just have to push them all day.
It's like a steampunk paradise.
Yes.
And you tell them that everything is imperative.
Super important. It's like putting in the numbers from Lost. You guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
You got to put in the
Yeah,
numbers every
totally.
2 hours.
That I'm just from an outside perspective here. That is a super weird desire to always wish to be an oil baron that can put someone in a room pushing buttons and levers for no reason.
I think the oil baron part threw it off. The rest is totally reasonable.
Okay.
We've got the rest of the week. 5 matchups today. Fantasy Forecast Part 2, as we would call it.
Bert Duh.
You say Part 2, and all I think is Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Geronimo Allison today. Is what you're
Oh, very nice.
saying. News in and out on the show. FootClan Friday. We'll talk about the game last night. We'll get an inside look at Jason's mental state, which is not good. And then Daily Dose, did I mention that? We're doing that too. Find us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. The website is thefantasyfootballers.com. JoinTheFoot.com is the fantasy community where over 6,000 of you support this independent
Yes, thank you.
podcast. We appreciate you. And we're going to bring you some hashtag FootClan titles this year. And what else is going on? Brooks, everything else good in your neck of the woods? All the bleeps and the bloops?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. About to hop on the bicycle to keep it going.
We're
yeah.
very green.
Yeah, we're very, very green. Brooks produces all the power for this entire facility.
You should see his quads.
Yeah.
Why do you think we brought baby Josh around? I mean, just for a rotating shift here. The intern does most of the hamster-like power production. It is Friday.
FootClan Friday.
Every Friday we give away a $55 gift card to a FootClan supporter from JoinTheFoot.com. And today's winner is Miss Elanius.
Oh, nicely done.
I feel like I have no idea who won.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, Miss Elanius won. And she won $55.
Congratulations. Thank you for supporting the show.
.com. Let's get right into the Thursday night recap. Now, we saw the Patriots come out. We saw Tom Brady. Welcome to the season, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
34 for 44, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Sony Michel, 18 for 91.
Those are air quote picks.
Yeah,
by
that's
the way.
True.
If you didn't catch the game.
Yeah, I mean, when both picks are you hit a guy. I mean, I think Gronk made a football move and fumbled, but whatever. They called it an interception. Hogan, he hits him in the hands, he pops the ball up, and it's another pick.
Yeah, Michel, 98 yards and a touchdown. His long was a 34-yard touchdown. And I have to give you the play-by-play on this because Jason has made a number of moves in our league of record. Now, he acquired Antonio Brown this past week. He's invested in
He's going for it.
He's going for the comeback title. And he's
Oh, I'm sorry. He's 0-4 in it. I apologize. I misspoke.
Just a slight
going for it, 0-4 in it. Very similar.
With a monster team.
But he has a monster. Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Antonio Brown now.
David Johnson, Devonta Freeman, Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay.
But he's facing Sony Michel, and he's watching this game with bated breath because he wants to get off on the right foot. 0-5 is not a future he wants to have. And this game's going splendidly for him. And in about, 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Sony Michel has about 7, 8, 9 points. He's feeling good. He's feeling fine. He decides, you know what? I'm going to step up from my seat. The Colts have the ball.
Had to take a wee-wee.
He had to go.
I mean, from time to time, you gotta.
From time to
time, you take a tinkle.
Come on, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Urine.
So I casually walk down the hallway.
I mean,
go into our Jeff Fisher bathroom,
right?
Because of course, and look, I just take a little tinkle while I'm in there. Not for 9 seconds. Keep in mind, when I left,
midstream.
When I left the couch, the Colts had just picked up a very hard-to-get 4th down. They're driving. Life is good. I walk in. I go to the bathroom, and I hear the studio erupt. Don't come out, Jason! Don't come out! Stay in there! And I'm going, what is going on? Is there a spider? I worried about Sony Michel, but I'm like, they don't even have the ball. The Colts are in the middle of driving. I was in the room 10 seconds ago, and I come out, and Sony Michel has a 34-yard touchdown, and I'm like, they didn't even have the ball.
I believe your quote that I have on video was, I went pee, I didn't even poop.
I know.
How did he get the ball back?
It was... So this Sunday, while watching football, I will have a jug with me. I will make no trips to the Jeff Fisher room.
That's clearly what did it.
That is what did it. I left the scene of the crime.
James White is a PPR cheat code.
It was my start of the week, though, Sony. So good job for Sony.
You did expect it, but then not while you took a bathroom break. James White, 10 for 77, receiving.
My goodness.
And a touchdown. 14 targets, 11 of which came in the first half. Rob Gronkowski, 6 for 75. Looked like he had a little bit of life. Julian Edelman back, 7 for 57. Josh Gordon made an appearance with an alley-oop against the secondary that's beaten up.
It was great to see because this was a full Tom Brady trust fall. He pointed to Gordon. He said, my man, I'm throwing you the ball. You better come down with this.
I've heard stories about you. Let's see if they're true.
And Josh Gordon outmuscled 2 defenders, came down with a touchdown. He was not on the field a ton, but hopefully this is a start.
When he made his primary action, I mean, not just when he was on the field running routes, all of that, it was after that Chris Hogan second, the pop-up interception, and all of a sudden it was like, all right. Let's go, Gordon. Gordon, right. You're in. Chris Hogan.
I still don't think you can trust Gordon, but you can, you can take a shot on it.
I'm hoping
4 targets for Gordon, 4 for Hogan, 3 for Dorsett.
I believe they get the Chiefs next week.
Yeah,
they do.
So you can trust Gordon next
I don't
week.
think so. No, I don't
think it's still a
let me ask you a couple questions.
He's going to be my start of the week.
Is James White going to get more targets than Gordon?
Yes.
Is Gronkowski?
Yes.
Is Edelman?
Yes.
Could Hogan? Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Could he?
So,
sure.
Dorsett being targeted, I still think it's a risk.
Certainly.
It's a high risk.
Certainly.
So trust is not the word I associate with risk. Chester Rogers, 8 receptions. Eric Ebron, your start of the week, Jason, 9 for 105 and 2 touchdowns on 15 targets.
And it wasn't the stinkiest garbage time touchdown. But it was
worthy of a drop.
Well, that's what Andrew Luck owners received.
Yes.
38 for 59, 365, and 3, 2 interceptions. Did everything I think that Andrew Luck could do under the circumstances. Relied on Nyheim Hines, 22 total touches. Terrible between the tackles. I mean, 15 for 45, 3 yards a carry, and I don't know why when Jordan Wilkins was 6 for 39, they didn't go to Jordan Wilkins between the tackles, keep Nyheim Hines. You could keep him on the field. Weird. You could throw him the ball.
It was so weird because they would pull Nyheim Hines, the pass-catching receiving back, out on third down and put in Robert Turbin. It's like, wait, so you're using this guy all the time when you shouldn't be. But now when it's like, hey, this is a perfect Nyheim Hines situation. Hey, Bob Turbin, you're in.
It's the third down intimidation factor, Jason. You're underestimating
the guns.
Bicep Bob.
So, biggest fantasy takeaway from last night before we moved in and out?
Biggest fantasy takeaway is I believe that Eric Ebron will turn a corner here and become a reliable target.
The biggest takeaway for me is James White is an every week running back 2 at least.
Okay. All right. I would go with the trust that the Colts showed in Nyheim Hines through and through with 22 touches was impressive to me, even though it didn't translate into a pile of fantasy points. You got the work that you guys were expecting early in the week. All right. In and out.
What's it going to be, McFly? Are you in or out?
At the running back position, Joe Mixon?
I still firmly believe he's going to be in.
Yeah, I believe he will play.
Gio Bernard?
Out. I think he will not.
He did not practice again today.
Oh.
Hey, Gio. Hey, you should probably just rest up this week, man.
Is that Mark Waltenberg?
Hey, it's me, Mark Waltenberg. Say hi to your mother for me.
He's going to be out there.
Hey, I'll get on the field. I'll say, hey, Joe, how's that knee? You need a knee brace? I get it for you. Say hi to your mother for me.
Alvin Kamara, limited in practice. He'll be in there.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, hamstring. Questionable. I think he's going to be out there again.
I do not think he will be out.
So you're an out.
I'm out.
Marshawn Lynch?
In. He's limited Thursday, but he's Marshawn Lynch.
Adrian Peterson with the ankle, limited?
This one
He'll play.
is...
Yeah, I think he's in too.
He's probably in, but it's weird because they're coming off of a bye. So this is a practice injury, which
he's old.
Lamar Miller?
He's a
game-time decision according to Bill O'Brien.
Speaking of Lamar Miller, I just got a sleeper alert that Coach Bill O'Brien says Deonta Foreman is on track to return his first eligible week. So week 7 is the first week that Deonta Foreman can come back. He is 100% worth a stash on your bench to see what happens because Lamar Miller is getting tons and tons of opportunity and he's just squandering this opportunity. So it will not be surprising if Foreman is actually healthy to see him take over the role. It's still a bit of a longer shot, in my opinion, coming back from the Achilles injury, but it's worth putting him on your bench.
Here's what
about Alfred Blue this week? This week Alfred Blue could be a starter by himself.
Absolutely. I was going to say, you pick up Alfred Blue right now and wait because in a game-time decision against Dallas, if Lamar Miller doesn't go, and obviously Deonta Foreman's not there, Alfred Blue becomes a good start, or at least a decent start if you're one of those teams struggling with injuries and bye weeks and that type of stuff.
Alex Collins. Is he in or out?
I think he's in.
He'll probably be in.
One bonus, you could put Foreman in an IR spot too. Right?
If you have him,
yes.
one,
yeah.
Yeah, there are a few players I've done that with lately. Hunter Henry's still eligible to return. They said he was running around a little bit. You can throw him in.
You just picked up Kenneth Dixon.
And moved
somebody
him
else
to
the IR.
Yeah. So there are a handful of players you could do that with. That's another drop it like it's hot thing. Like if somebody dropped O.J. Howard this past week because they don't want to roster 2 tight ends, you can put him in your IR spot. He'll be out for a while. Chris Carson, in or out?
He did not practice Wednesday.
He did return to practice yesterday.
Yes, he did, and he'll probably be in, but I think Pete Carroll is on record saying that he wants to have Mike Davis more involved.
Sure. Darren Sproles, in or out?
Out.
Man, poor Sproles.
Corey Clement?
I'm going to say he's out.
Yes, out as well.
Wide receivers, let's start with the Packers. Let's go with the whole 3-pack. Devontae Adams didn't practice Thursday. They say he's going to practice on Saturday. Calf injury, in or out?
I think he plays.
I do as well.
Randall Cobb, he has been ruled out.
I'm going to guess out.
Geronimo Allison didn't practice Thursday. They hope he will pass the concussion protocol. In or out?
I lean out because usually by this time in a week you've seen a guy start progressing and do some through the concussion protocol, and he hasn't.
I will go on record officially now. If these three guys miss, I am starting Ty Montgomery everywhere.
Yeah, it's
I'm
fair.
going to start him as a RB2 with RB1 upside from a James White perspective. DeAndre Hopkins, in or out?
In.
Will Fuller.
In.
I think he plays as well.
Kiki.
It's a little bit of a downgrade, but I think Kiki's still, and he's an okay flex type of a play.
Well, in or out?
Oh, in. Sorry. I thought you were.
No, I wanted you to talk about him for a while.
Yeah.
Just what you think of him.
It's
I like
really,
his name.
I don't know what's going on in Houston, but all three of those guys, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Kiki Kuti,
Lamar
are
Miller.
all dealing with hamstring issues. Is like
No,
do some
they don't
better
stretch.
stretching,
They don't
guys.
stretch. Jarvis Landry,
In.
Antonio Callaway,
In.
Doug Baldwin,
Of course, yeah, he's
He's
play.
in.
Larry Fitzgerald,
Of course he'll play.
Sammy Watkins.
Because he returned to the first possible practice on Wednesday, I believe he will play.
Yeah, I agree.
Jimmy Graham.
Yes,
he better play.
He never practices, always plays.
I think that's all. Hayden Hurst make his debut.
Yeah, who cares? So what?
Game day alerts, you can find them. Jointhefoot.com 1 hour before the main Sunday kickoff. Mike will also be on Periscope. He'll be on YouTube. He'll be on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch. He'll be live.
Yeah.
Oh, so live. And I just want to know what hat he's going to wear. That's all I care about.
Oh, are we getting into Hat Week now, or is that for the end?
Wait, you have Hat Week stories?
Yeah.
Brief, Mike.
Well, it's an M. Night Shyamalanian ending for Hat Week.
Wait, if you're going to take the hat off and you're bald,
Nope.
'cause that would have been.
It's simply the fact that he has a hat when he's not supposed to have
Exactly. I went to get my hair cut yesterday. Apparently there was some sort of emergency, and the hairstylist was not there.
Was the emergency podcast related? Like maybe they know what's going on. They want to keep you in a hat, keep you covered up.
Possibly. So Hat Week may continue. Stay tuned.
We've said it may become hat year.
I'm working on it. I need some more hats then. I'm bringing a Dr. Seuss hat
I
tomorrow.
wonder if you could get an autographed hat from our sponsor today.
Probably.
Pristine Auction. We want to thank them for sponsoring today's show. We're going to get into the forecast momentarily, but before we do, I'm going to forecast your future. You're going to go to pristineauction.com. You're going to type in some of your favorite teams, your favorite players. You're going to find hundreds of daily auctions each and every day at incredible prices. Let's say you're a big Raider fan. Well, you can snag a Derek Carr signed Raiders photo, $49. Sold yesterday. Say you're a big Saints fan. Mark Ingram coming back. Signed Saints jersey, $52 yesterday. Hey, you ever heard of Todd Gurley?
Yeah.
Yeah. Signed football yesterday, $86. Signed photo yesterday, $62. And my man, Corey Davis, signed Titans jersey, $49 yesterday. PristineAuction.com, all the best sports memorabilia, changing every single day. You register, you check it out, you bid, you win, you smile. That's all there is to it.
Want to thank StockX for sponsoring today's show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever wonder how to get the hottest new sneakers, the ones that barely hit shelves, the answer is StockX, a revolutionary new marketplace for buying and selling 100% authentic sneakers, streetwear, watches, handbags. Millions are already using StockX to find everything after it sells out, from the latest Yeezys to everything retro, Jordan, and beyond. I grabbed myself a pair of dead stock Nike SBs. I got them. They were authentic. They were fresh. They smelled like the vault. I was so pumped. Many people don't know this. I'm a massive sneakerhead, so I was very excited that StockX wanted to help support this show, because StockX has removed all the risk from buying and selling online, totally anonymous. They verify everything. And right now, I need you to go to StockX.com/footballers to get started. StockX, now you know. I love sneakers. I love StockX.
Fantasy Forecast.
Remember to check out yesterday's podcast for the game previews on the matchups we didn't cover today. So you're talking Titans, Bills, Giants, Panthers, Dolphins, Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Packers, Lions, and the Jags, Chiefs game. Those were all on yesterday's episode. So you just click that one. But let's get into today's matchups. A reminder, teams on bye this week, the Bears and the Buccaneers. Let's start with the Broncos at 2-2, traveling to New York to take on the 1-3 Jets. Early in the week, the second this matchup came out, I looked at these guys and said, this is going to be my almost upset of the week. I'm going to take the Jets to win this game. I'm not impressed with Case Keenum in that offense. And then the Jets ended up favored by Vegas by a point.
So you cannot take them.
So I can't take them.
Which now I can, because this would be my almost upset. I was shocked when you were saying that you thought the Jets were going to win. Obviously,
you don't know the rules, but I mean, you can't take a 1 point.
Yeah.
A game with a 1 point line.
I don't have an almost
can't?
upset.
No. I don't. I traditionally, it's a 3 point minimum for me to do an almost upset.
I did not know.
Yeah, if a game's heads up, it's not really an upset to me. Like, if the Broncos win this game, it's not an upset.
Right.
But let's talk about the Broncos. Let's talk about the player holding them back. Case Keenum.
Oh, I thought you were okay. Never mind.
What do you think about
Devonta
Vance
Booker.
Joseph?
Yeah, no, I thought you were going to say Devontae Booker.
Look, if you want to transition all of your Hugh Jackson hate, if you're willing to take money to transfer that hate, put it on Vance Joseph.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do that. He's made some poor decisions. The Devontae Booker 2-minute offense, not a fan. The lack of inclusion of Cortland Sutton, somebody who actually has a rapport with Case Keenum but is not getting the targets he needs to, Vance Joseph. Let's put him there. I think Case Keenum's holding these guys back. He's been single-digit fantasy points. He hasn't thrown a touchdown since week 1, guys.
Woof.
He is not an eligible streaming candidate on the road in New York.
Correct.
To me. The Jets' defense is vastly improved metric-wise over last season. They're giving up only 16 fantasy points per game to the quarterback position. Case Keenum would be so lucky. What do you guys think about the Broncos side of the football? Where is your confidence? Where does it lie? And is Emmanuel Sanders kind of where you're happy?
As a receiver, Emmanuel Sanders is the clear number 1 target there. I made Demaryius Thomas kind of that final straw type of player this week. He is resting on my bench until he proves it, probably multiple weeks in a row. I think he's lost a step. So Emmanuel Sanders, I'm fine putting out there. I'm also fine with both Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay here. You don't always want they're an underdog, slight, and they're on the road. That's not always the best situation for the running backs. But the Jets' defense is not one that is daunting. I mean, last year they were bad across the board. This year they've improved across the board, but still I feel like middle of the pack. So when the coach comes out and says we need to get Royce Freeman more involved, I'm going to assume that they watched and said we need to make it a 2 running back system. Hopefully Devonta Booker is the guy that takes the fall there. So I am fine starting Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay, and I would start them in that order.
Mike, any thoughts on the Broncos side of the ball? Royce Freeman?
None different than Jason.
Royce Freeman has rushed for 10-plus yards on 22% of his carries, the second most in the league. He's picked up first downs on 34% of his carries. That is the second most in the league. Hyper efficient. I use the discerning eye to say he's a great player. The efficiency metrics I don't pay as much attention to because he's getting far too little work. He's making the most of it. I love that. If they gave him more work, those would come down a little bit, but he would produce for fantasy owners. On the Jets side of the ball, do you have anybody you want to play here? One guy we did not get into with in and out was Quincy Enunwa, but we probably should have. He's been banged up. Do you think he plays in this game?
I do think he plays, and I think you can play him. I mean, I think you should play Quincy. He has been the clear number 1 target for the team. If you're in a PPR or half PPR, it's difficult to bench a guy.
He's been very solid.
Yeah, that is just basically getting the work. I mean, you're talking 10, 11, 8 targets. Those are his target counts over the first 4 weeks. And in a PPR system, you're fine with that. I'm also fine with Bilal Powell here. I mean, both of these guys, like neither one excite me, but both have a really high floor is how I feel. Like if you need to start a guy that just I want a safer option, and I think we did this in one of our leagues. We looked at our opponent. We're like, do I want a safe floor? Am I projected to win? Is it an easier opponent? And in that situation, then you go with a guy like Quincy or Bilal Powell.
Powell had a season high in snap percentage last week, 64%, ironically correlating to the season low snap count for Mr. Isaiah Crowell.
Also correlating to playing the Jaguars.
Yeah.
So I actually think I'd rather play Bilal Powell, but I do think that you can play Crowell as a lower-end flex running back this week.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because he's a bit of a coin flip week to week.
But I'm with you that I think that the Jets can win this game, and that would, to me, when the Jets are winning, then Isaiah Crowell is getting more touches.
The 1-3 Falcons take on the 1-2-1 Steelers. Guys, this over-under.
Oh, my goodness.
It's out of control.
Woo!
57.5 points. The Steelers are 3-point favorites at home. I think the decisions here, now I've seen teams with Big Ben and Matt Ryan. Who do you have performing better? I mean, both of these guys are must-start potential 1-2 quarterbacks on the week.
100%. And Matt Ryan has looked better than Ben Roethlisberger this year by the slightest of margins because both have looked pretty darn good. Matt Ryan had a bad week 1. Last week, Big Ben didn't look invincible. But I'm going to take the home quarterback. I mean, that's really all it is. I want both of these guys, but I'm going to take the one that is at home. Big Ben has always played well there. Obviously, the new movie coming out, Juju Smith-Schuster, has looked great.
The new movie?
Yeah. I believe it. Did it release today? I need to take my wife to see Juju Smith-Schuster.
A Star is Born.
Yeah, A Star is Born.
Wow,
Juju
Jason
Smith-Schuster.
Wow.
Antonio Brown at home. I mean, look, the reality with teams like this, a lot of times, you have those trap games where it looks like it's going to be two great offenses, but they don't get it done, and you're disappointed for fantasy. Similar to what happened when the Falcons played the Saints, I care so much about the defenses here. That's what makes me completely believe that this will be a fantasy feast. I mean, you're going to have two defenses that cannot stop each other, the other offenses. So you're just going to have a tit-for-tat scoring fest, and you want every single player in the game. And what is there to really discuss? I guess one of the biggest questions is Devonta Freeman or Tevin Coleman.
Sure. Devonta Freeman, we're talking about games returning from injury. In 2015, week 12, 14 carries, 10 receptions, healthy workload. 2017 came back, 12 carries, only 1 reception, but still 13 touches. I'm playing Devonta Freeman over Tevin Coleman. I think that if the coach says he's healthy, he's still the starting running back.
I second that.
The way I view it.
I would do that for sure.
Now, what do you do with the pass catchers for the Falcons? Because Matt Ryan is absolutely just torching defenses. He's got his touchdown rate back at that MVP level when in 2016, right around 7%. Does that keep going? And I mean, Calvin Ridley's been the biggest benefactor, but he's seeing a 15% target share. Though I mean, those things don't match up.
Calvin Ridley raises Matt Ryan's floor on a week-to-week basis because he has another powerful touchdown scoring potential option. That doesn't mean Ridley's going to stay consistently touchdown pace of
10,000
of 25 for the season. But I think Ridley helps Ryan, and I think Ridley's a very good player, but I do put him in that riskier category. He's in the category of start that you can place a Sammy Watkins into.
Yeah, I agree. I'm more bullish on Calvin Ridley. I think part of that is because some of the fantasy community, you look at the metrics and you say, oh, he's not on the field enough. He's not getting the target share that you want.
Right.
And I say, stop it. Stop. Look, he was a great player that they drafted in the first round. He's being used perfectly and being very valuable. He's in a great matchup. Stop with sure, he's not going to keep that pace. But you start Calvin Ridley. Like, if I have him on my team, it's not a question to me. I'm starting him.
Those metrics could easily be bent into the positive Calvin Ridley side.
Exactly.
Because if you're producing with reduced snap counts, it's not outlandish that rookies begin there. I mean, rookies, if he's doing something to earn playing time, like scoring 6 touchdowns.
What if he's on the field 85% this week because there's room to improve, not necessarily in the touchdown count, but in everything else.
Well, in this matchup of all things. I mean, how do you sit him if you're ever going to play him?
Right.
What about Mo Sanu?
That one is a little bit more difficult. I think he is one of those guys that you could pick up.
6 for 111 last week.
Yes, you could pick up off of waivers if you are needing to plug someone in. You know, you had.
Did you say meh Sanu?
Meh Sanu. I would say he is one of those waiver wire pick up and play guys if you need. Let's say you've got the Green Bay core and Geronimo's out and Devontae Adams is out and you're just stuck going, oh no, I really don't have someone. Then Mohamed Sanu is a guy you can find on waivers, pick up, put in there, and you've always got the shot at the touchdown, and his floor should be okay in a game like this.
All right, anything else? I mean, look, I think the other player we want to mention start of the week, Vance McDonald, seeing consistent usage running routes. That's all he does. So he's a useful piece of the offense. You can definitely count on him more than Jesse James. He's earning himself a role. I think some people might say, hey, could you play Austin Hooper in this matchup? The Steelers are 31st in the NFL in fantasy points given up to the tight end position, 16.7 a game. Austin Hooper, is he good for a double-digit game in this one?
It's possible. I mean, you have to take a look back at who they were actually playing. They played Zeus, Travis Kelce. Of course, they're going to give up points to the tight end position.
Yes.
They played the Buccaneers tight ends, who are also it's a
Cameron
good core.
Brate and O.J. Howard are
and
great.
then the Baltimore tight ends, where the offense starts with the tight end. So Austin Hooper is always a lotto ticket tight end stream because he is utilized close to the goal line.
3 of 4 games this year, 24 yards or fewer.
Exactly. He is the quintessential touchdown or bust, and certainly a chance. I love that over-under if I'm throwing a dart at a tight end who I just want to catch a single touchdown.
Would you play Hooper or would you play Ricky Seals-Jones this week?
I would play Ricky Seals-Jones.
So I had to make that exact decision on waivers because I lost O.J. Howard and Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
And I went with Ricky Seals-Jones. So
Wait, did you lose them at the mall?
Yeah, I couldn't find them, and I was paging them. And
you need
I was
one of those
911.
Paging them?
Yeah, and they didn't show up to the spot where I told them, hey, 3:00 right here, and they didn't show up.
Yeah.
The last name to
cost
mention
him $44 to do that one page.
The last name to mention, James Conner. You start him.
Yeah. We're not talking Steelers because you play Ben, you play Connor, you play Brown and Smith-Schuster.
But I think based on the questions I get on Twitter, a lot of people feel like James Conner is not an automatic start, especially after last week. Didn't get, 9 carries for 19 yards. Very disappointing. You absolutely start James Conner. He's an RB1, no question.
All right, let's move on to the Raiders, 1-3, taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Another high over-under, 52.5 points. Derek Carr has been putting up a lot of yardage in recent weeks. This is not a Raiders defense that is intimidating, so I think that points will be scored in this game. For context, look, Derek Carr, he's having himself a season.
Yeah.
70 in his 4 games, 72% completion percentage, 90%, 69%, 60%, 437 yards last week, and 4 touchdowns, 58 pass attempts. He's interesting.
Yeah, certainly. And this is a matchup, again, where Vegas is saying there's going to be a lot of points scored here. That's why I've got Phillip Rivers as my start of the week. But to stay on the Derek Carr side, I think the real question is always Amari Cooper. What do you do? Do you start him? Do you not? Half of his games have been great. Half of them have been complete duds. This is the type of matchup that I think is more of a trap. Last week I said you could start Amari Cooper. This week I am much more worried. I think just like we saw 2 weeks ago, when you have one really good cornerback, that really good cornerback is not going to go on Jordy Nelson. That good cornerback is going to go on Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper has struggled in those matchups. And the number 2 is
Casey Hayward will be on Amari Cooper.
Exactly. And that's why you made Jordy Nelson
part
your start
of it, yeah.
All right. What are we looking at here? Phillip Rivers, light him up.
Yep.
Marshawn Lynch has been outstanding thus far. You're playing him. Melvin Gordon, you're throwing him out there. So I guess the decision that a lot of fantasy owners are going to have to make here are the Jordy Nelson, Mike Williams, Tyrell Williams type of decisions. Jared Cook is an auto start right now with the production that he's been putting up. So what do you do with Mike Williams? Right now he is 4th in the NFL with in terms of average depth of target. So generally, there's a little bit of risk with those players.
Yeah.
He's not going to get more targets than Keenan Allen. He's not going to get more work than Melvin Gordon. So he's a tertiary option there at best. Last week he disappointed fantasy owners, so I think they're afraid to go back to him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's very difficult to trust those type of players. But I still think you could probably throw him in. This is a game in Oakland that I could see being, higher scoring like we said. And if that's the case, just because a player has a down week does not mean that he no longer matters and is irrelevant. I mean, he had 5 for 81 week 1, 4 for 81 week 3. He's kind of done the Amari Cooper back and forth yo-yo. This would be the 4th of the back and forth week. So I'm not excited to start Mike Williams. A little bit more risky, but he does have the reward that makes it at least worth it. I mean, honestly, I feel like he's kind of like Amari Cooper in the sense of
Fair.
They're in the same tier to me. I don't really want to start either. I think you could start either, and I feel like I'd rather start Mike Williams in this specific matchup than Amari Cooper.
To speak to Keenan Allen, people want to know what the heck is going on. He's still getting targets. I mean, 36 targets through the first 4 weeks. He's got a 26% target share. That's very healthy for a wide receiver 1. The issue is his average depth of target. Last year it was at 9.3 yards. It's dropped to 7.7. So I think that's the biggest issue going on right now with Keenan Allen. Hopefully that corrects itself. I also believe that the touchdowns will come for Keenan Allen. The targets, I'm just following the history of targets through the NFL, and you just got to be patient. It will happen for him.
Seen a lot of Keenan Allen swaps this week.
Yeah.
Some people acquiring him on the cheap. A lot of Cooper Kupp.
And I still would. I still would try to acquire him on the cheap.
Can we move on to the Vikings game?
Sure.
I'm excited about this one. Big game for both teams. I think it will be an intense ball game. 1-2-1. The Vikings need a win, and they have to go to Philadelphia to get it. The 2-2 Eagles are 3-point favorites at home. 46-point over-under. Mike with the bold and correct call last week. Kirk Cousins, 400-plus yards, started him last week. He found a home in the arms of Aldrick Robinson. 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
A player that they brought into, I don't know, as an excuse and reason to move Treadwell to the bench as often as possible. But look, Diggs, Thielen, Treadwell, Rudolph, Robinson, Cook, these are the weapons that made you love Kirk Cousins. Can you start him, though, on the road here, or are you trying to find another option?
I'm starting all the pass catchers. Kirk Cousins is a fine play. The Eagles' defense has been giving up fantasy points to the quarterback and the wide receiver position. So Cousins, Diggs, Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, no question. I'm starting all of them. The big question to me is, what do you do with Dalvin Cook?
You do not start Dalvin Cook.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Chance that I would start Dalvin Cook in any situation. I would play, lower level guys over him because, first of all, I don't expect him to play. But if he does play with this hamstring that, they said, oh, he's healthy last week, but they also took him out the second half when they could have really used him.
Right.
And then he's been limited in practice. The chance of re-injury with how bad he's been with that offensive line and the matchup, it's like the trifecta. It's just why would you take that risk? I think the reward, let's say he is healthy, plays the whole game, I don't expect him to have a very good game here. I mean, if you look at what he's done so far, Dalvin Cook has rushed for 10-plus yards on 2.8% of his carries. It's the worst of qualifying running backs in the NFL. And when you watch him, he gets hit in the backfield so often, which is why I love Kirk and Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph, because they will not be able to run the ball. I'm not starting Latavius Murray if Cook is out.
That's the follow-up.
Yeah,
it's like you're a psychic.
All pass catchers.
Psycho?
It's a fine line.
Between psychic and psycho?
Yes. The crazy is what makes me see.
Say most crazy people are really close to being able to see the future.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, light up all the passing game for Minnesota and bench all the running game for Minnesota. That's how I see it.
What are the other big storylines from this matchup you guys want to touch on? Like, right now, here's a question I think fantasy owners might have, right? Jay Ajayi, we know the back is injured. We know he's banged up. There's the confidence level of starting Ajayi, but there's also the fantasy owner wisdom of, like, who do you stash that could benefit long-term from Ajayi's injury condition? So do you stash a Corey Clement on your bench? Is it Wendell Smallwood? Is it Darren Sproles?
Yeah, I made this decision again because I was wanting to stash one of these guys. I took my stash with Corey Clement because I don't think any of them really matter right now. If I had to, if you need to make a start like this week, Wendell Smallwood would be the guy.
Well, it can't be Clement.
Right, because he's injured. But I think by the time Jay Ajayi his season wraps up, which I feel like is inevitably coming in short order. If that happens, by that time, if Corey Clement is healthy, he will be the workhorse guy. So I stashed him this week.
Alshon, right back into your starting lineup?
100%. Do you start Nelson Aguilar? I do not.
Yeah. I mean,
you got it. He was the last straw guy for me.
Do you play? Okay, so we talked about you can pick up Sanu if you're in desperate order. Would you play Mohamed Sanu in that juicy matchup over Nelson Aguilar?
Yes, I personally would. Brooks is shaking his head vigorously. No, he's like, no way.
No,
but
I wouldn't.
You have been the Nelson Aguilar truther.
The targets were there for Aguilar last week. He just dropped them all. He battered them to the ground.
That's a problem.
Hard pass, he said.
The only other thing I would say,
the pass was too hard.
Yes.
So Aguilar knocked it to the
only
ground.
other thing I would say, because these are two very, very commonly started defenses, I would look elsewhere. I would prefer to look elsewhere here than play these two defenses.
All right. Well, we need to move on. We need to talk about this exciting Cardinal matchup. Arizona Cardinals at 0-4 take on the 1-3 49ers. 40-point over-under. Not exactly the 57.
It's like the highest over-under a Cardinals game has received.
That's right. Josh Rosen and company. Look, Rosen, you break down the tape last week, played very well.
Yes.
Very well. There were several drops.
Yeah, at least 5.
Yeah, I think it was 6. And a couple of them by Christian Kirk, Ricky Seals-Jones, and then uncharacteristically, Larry Fitzgerald dropped a touchdown, dropped a couple big first downs. None of this is to say you start Josh Rosen in this game.
No, it's to say that David Johnson might be okay. I mean, really, because the ball was moving. David Johnson, season high in touches, total yards, and snaps last week. Obviously, you're going to start David Johnson no matter what, but this is a great matchup. The 49ers allow the second most catches, fourth most receiving yards to running backs. So, obviously, light up David Johnson.
Yeah.
What do you don't start Larry Fitzgerald?
I'm okay playing him. I'm okay playing him as a wide receiver 3.
He's a wait until he's right type of guy to me. New quarterback situation. The hamstring's been bothering him.
Yeah.
And, 3 drops last week, super uncharacteristic. I want to wait and see.
Definitely uncharacteristic, but the way I look at it is Larry Fitzgerald comes down with those 3 passes, and he had himself a very nice fantasy day, and everyone's like, oh, great, we're all good with Larry Fitzgerald. So I take that as that's not something that Larry does. So I am okay playing him against the 49ers.
That is a fair counterpoint.
Matt Breida has been increasing in snap percentage for the last 3 weeks, and in pass routes run, which is the role in the Kyle Shanahan offense that we all wanted him to assume. Breida's looked really good. I mean, you can start Breida, right?
Yeah,
yes,
you can start him, but I will say I have somewhat adjusted expectations for Breida just based off of what the points the Cardinals have given up to the running back position. Their offense was so incredibly bad that teams could just run on them. They could run the game out. We don't really have to do anything else. We can give everything to the running back. The defense for the Cardinals is just exhausted being on the field so incredibly much. This is not a bench Matt Breida. It's just when you see that, holy crap, my running back is going up against the worst defense to fantasy running backs, I don't think they will be that moving forward.
I don't think they'll be the worst, but I think they have issues stopping the run that's not 100% caused by just being tired on the field all the time. Because if you go back and watch, it wasn't like in the first quarters and the second quarters of these games that they were, really stopping the run. And they've given up a lot. In fact, I think
you can play Morris. I think you can play Morris this week too.
That's what I was going to say. The big bruising backs
running back
just
3
run through the Cardinals. You look at Adrian Peterson's day when he got to play the Cardinals. So I think Morris.
But that was a revenge game, Jason.
34 fantasy points given up on the road. Dead last in the league against the run. I think Morris is a flex-ish type of dart throw, deeper league, wide running back 3 play. Any other storylines from this game? I mean, Kittle you're going to throw out there. Marquise Goodwin's been banged up. Somebody has to catch the ball. Is it just going to be Kittle?
Kittle and Breida.
Yeah. And
it's just like we said last week. Those are the only 2 guys that I feel confident starting. If you want to take a flyer on Garcon or Goodwin, maybe it could happen. I will not be doing that.
Garcon got his highest target count of the year, 7 targets, 4 receptions for 52 yards. Not inspiring, but like I had said, it was at least worth keeping an eye on what Garcon does with Beathard.
I mean, they put up so many yards and points last week, San Francisco did, and that is what Garcon was able to accomplish. 4 for 50.
Sure. I mean, 27 points isn't.
That's a lot for San Francisco right now. With C.J. Beathard.
The 4-0 Rams go to Seattle to take on the 2-2 Seahawks. Seahawks are +7, so they're 7-point dogs at home.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that 2 years ago? 50.5-point over-under. Look, nobody's questioning the starts on the Rams side of the ball. You're starting Goff, Gurley, Cooks, Woods, and Kupp. So let's talk about what's going on with Seattle. Russell Wilson is on pace for the fewest rushing attempts of his career. That is translating to the non-traditional Russell Wilson fantasy value right now. And a lot of people invested a higher-ish draft pick on Russell Wilson and need to know whether to pivot away from him. Now, you get Doug Baldwin back in full, played 76% of snaps last week, led the team in targets, 81% of those snaps in the slot, and that's where Adam Thielen did a lot of damage against this Rams defense last year. They're at home. How do you feel about Wilson, Baldwin in this game? Because those are the really 2 big passing weapons, and what do you do with Lockett?
Look, I feel 100% fine with Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin is a great player, must start, even in this matchup. Tyler Lockett is more of a dart throw. He's no different than any of the field-stretching Ted Gins right now. Now that he's back to being the number 2, if you have to, maybe you get lucky. But I am pivoting away from Russell Wilson for this week. It's not a great matchup.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. I'm not disagreeing, but just playing devil's advocate. It's Russell Wilson at home with a 50-point over-under. And
they will be dogs, so maybe they'll be throwing the ball more. I get all of that, but what you've seen so far from Russell Wilson, from the offensive coordinator, the play calling, I just don't feel like you can trust Russell right now. That's the issue. But I would never, ever, ever trade him for nothing or cut him, even when I'm usually a single quarterback on a team type of guy, because we've seen plenty of seasons where Russell Wilson has half of a really bad season and then lights the world on fire, and it's usually the first half bad, second half good. So
the implied point total for Seattle this week is 21 points.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not much above Arizona's 18.5.
Right.
Just based on the situation. But you could have a situation here that is very similar to what Andrew Luck did last night. You get out to a lead.
You just don't watch the first half.
No, I'm facing Andrew Luck in a league. I was sitting pretty. 4 points against me in the first half. I'm thinking no big deal. And then swoop. There it is.
Oh.
Andrew, I heard a chuckle over there, Brooks. I guess you approved.
And Baby Josh says, what? What?
I don't get it.
Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, Mike Davis. How far away do you get from this nuclear waste?
Oh, man.
It's funny because it's not been nuclear waste. Brooks is just laughing up. He's just cracking up over there.
There's been value to be had, and nobody has had it. Because how could you – I mean, it's very difficult to predict. And now you've got – okay, Chris Carson should be back. But Mike Davis should be more involved. Rashad Penny's not just disappearing and not going to ever touch the ball. So since you can't predict it, you can't trust Pete Carroll. Everything's roses for every player. I'm staying away from it. Will I grab one of them? Will I pick up Mike Davis? Obviously, Chris Carson's not just available to be had, but I would pick them up and stash them. But I'm waiting for injury in that situation, not just, I think this guy's going to get more work this week.
You got to play one of them. Which one do you play?
Chris Carson, if he's active.
I agree.
All right.
Any interest in Nick Vannett? I mean, we poured one out for Big Montana. Will Disley went down, and then Nick Vannett was the absolute primary beneficiary. 82% of the snaps, ran 26 routes.
I think I'd rather be dead than started. I think. I'm not sure.
Rams, they can be beat by a tight end.
I can just see myself watching that game, hoping Nick Vannett gets receptions, like in this hypothetical universe where I started him, and I don't think I want that future for myself.
Let's just all agree that we're waiting for Ed Dixon.
Let's just agree we're waiting to start someone else at all. And Jason's looking around like,
I know no one's coming with me to the Ed Dixon party.
No, you're fine.
Nobody's ever been at that party.
Yeah, well, we're going to
He's
have a
always
great
been
time.
by himself, or maybe with one other guy.
We're going to have a great time.
A foreshadow of the next match we're going to talk about: Jeff Swaim, Cowboys tight end, or Nick Vannett.
Swaim, without a doubt.
All right.
Let's talk about him. There's your foreshadowing. We're into that matchup. 2-2 Cowboys, 1-3 Texans. Texans are 3-point favorites. I think they win this game going away. I would take the Texans in the no doubt to cover here. What you got?
Sorry,
you got a little smirk over there. What's going on? You
just got another hype alert that ESPN beat reporters are talking about that CJ Uzomah will be Cincinnati's top tight end moving forward.
So you've got the smirk of correct.
Yeah, sometimes
you're taking a victory lap before anything happens.
Yep, that is precisely right.
He's got to do it now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be Uzomah, but we'll find out. I'm 55-45 Uzomah.
Sure.
He's just a better player. He's a better pass catcher. He's a better field stretcher.
But his name isn't Tyler, and they love tight end Tylers.
Tyler's in the red zone. That was my band name growing up. It was a weird name. Tyler's in the red zone? No, that was not my band name. It just doesn't make any sense. Dak Prescott.
Very progressive.
Ezekiel Elliott. Jeff Swaim, Cole Beasley, Michael Gallup. Gallup saw the most uptick in work out of in the wide receiver core last week. So if you want to,
you want
to feel pain,
yeah, I mean,
in a new way, he could be the one that you start on Dallas. There you go.
Yeah, you're not starting any pass catcher.
You're not starting anybody but Zeke.
Yeah, Zeke and Zeke alone. In a 2-quarterback system, start Dak. That's fine. But I'm not, even though I say Swaim over Vannett, that doesn't mean go out and start Swaim. He's been okay.
Texans 25th against fantasy tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like talking about tight ends this year, Mike.
Okay.
It's not very comfortable.
Don't make me do it.
But it's got to be done.
Hopkins and Fuller. Fuller's supposed to play in this game. Do you play him? Do you take the risk with the hamstring?
I would.
Okay. The Cowboys defense, look, this is a must-win game for them, for both teams. 45-point over-under. What do you think? Do you take the over or the under in this game? I think that matters on how you're projecting some potential upside here, and I think it's an under game.
I want to say under. The only reason that I lean towards the over is Sean Lee. Sean Lee, the linebacker for the Cowboys, is out, and it's like the defense for the Cowboys is either surprisingly good or really bad.
Or Sean Lee's out.
Or Sean Lee is out, and they're really bad. And the fact that they're on the road, so Zeke can't run, the game isn't going to slow down quite as much. I think that they will cover the spread here.
I'm going to take the over.
We reminded you earlier, Lamar Miller, he's a game-time decision. Pick up Alfred Blue if you need a running back start.
Just in case.
He could be a start-worthy player.
Yep.
The battle in Texas here.
Honestly, I would much rather play Alfred Blue than Lamar Miller. Like if Lamar Miller is healthy and active and he's in here, or Lamar Miller's out the way and Alfred Blue gets the start, I'd be like, oh, that's a good start.
Is it just because of how not Lamar Miller Alfred Blue is?
That is 100%. Well, 95%.
But he's Alfred Blue.
He doesn't even catch
Alfred
the
Blue
ball.
has looked better than Lamar Miller.
Not to Bill O'Brien.
Alfred Blue, he picks up his
Da-ba-dee-da-do-ba.
his work pail and he goes to work.
I didn't get that one.
Really?
Wow. Eiffel 65.
Yeah. That was a miss on you, Jay.
Yeah.
You still don't get it?
Uh-uh.
A blue house with a blue window.
Uh-uh.
Okay, we'll get to
Wow.
you. We'll cover you later.
Did you ever club, bro?
Uh-uh.
Did you ever club? I wouldn't go there.
didn't either.
Did you ever club bro? That is
Dumbest thing you've ever said.
That is
Did
the
you
dumbest
get,
thing
hey,
you've
baby
ever-
Josh, I'm looking at you. Did you understand
There's
that
no
joke?
way.
No. Brooks?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
It's in my head now for
Yeah.
the rest of the day.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
You're blue.
Da-ba-dee-da.
The Redskins 2-1. I'm still waiting for Jason to go,
I
The Saints 3-1. Monday Night Football. We talked a lot about Alex Smith yesterday as a potential streaming guy. He was your stream of the week two days ago, or no? No, we just talked about him as a potential.
I put him as the start of the week, just going with the double streamer approach this week.
52-point over-under. Drew Brees disappointed fantasy owners last week. Jason and I actually have a bet, a Bortles-Brees bet.
that is absolutely true. I think that
I like Bortles more this week. I think off the bye, 2 weeks to prepare. I'd like the Redskins to stop. I mean, they're number 2 in the league against fantasy quarterbacks right now. I know it's a small sample size, 12.4.
And Sam Bradford's in there.
was a
Correct.
big part of that.
That's correct.
We
But-
could let's trace all the Sam Bradford defenses and see how they rank against quarterbacks.
So are we totally comfortable with Breeze? Just maybe
100.
in that matchup,
Breeze at home.
you take Bortles or Breeze, Mike?
Breeze.
Really?
Yes.
Even Bortles against the Kansas City defense?
Yes. Drew Brees at home in the dome.
What, do you want in on this bet too, Mike? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, put it in on there.
Water bet.
I got a snake, man.
I need you, Bortles.
I like Bortles
I
this
need
week,
ya.
but I'm playing Drew Brees, who's also is chasing history this weekend.
That is true.
For he will have the most yardage in NFL passing yardage in NFL history.
All right, let's get to the more interesting start-sit decisions.
Yeah, like Alvin Kamara. What do you do, fellas?
Stop
That's
it.
tough, man.
Stop it. Alvin Kamara has been the number 1 on the week 3 out of 4 weeks. If you want to,
Unbelievable.
I tweeted out my original Ingram Kamara article from preseason. If you want to go back and look at how the usage trended with these guys, Ingram coming off of the suspension, they're going to use him, no doubt about it. Are you willing to roll him out there week 1?
100%.
Yeah, there's no way I'm not rolling Mark Ingram out.
You roll him out over a Chris Thompson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
I like Chris Thompson, but Mark Ingram's upside, I know it's always questionable, a guy right back from suspension, but I think the team needs Ingram. I know Alvin Kamara has been great, but I also think that Kamara would welcome another running back who can produce and wear down the defense.
Yeah, we saw last year how they utilize both backs, and both will be valuable. It's not even a Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman situation.
Right.
This is a 1 and a 1, period. You start both of these guys. You start Michael Thomas. I have lowered expectations for Michael Thomas this week with Mark Ingram being back, defense coming off of a bye week. A few concerns, but I mean, obviously you're going to start him.
Do you have any excitement for the pass catchers for Washington between Crowder, Dox, and Paul Richardson? I know it's gross, but the Saints hemorrhage points to the wide receiver position.
Jordan Reed,
Okay.
I think, is going to be the wide receiver.
Crowder would be the only one I'd like if you have to pick one. Like if somebody forced me to. Because the other guys are banged up. The other
Right.
guys are low opportunity players. I think somebody like Crowder, you saw it last week. Maybe he gets it done.
Right.
I don't know.
And
I'm
I
not
think,
excited.
I think Adrian Peterson can have a very good game. Coming off of a bye, when he's got fresh legs in his elderly years. I'm older than him, but he is he's performed well. So I would be fine to start AP this week.
Brooks, do we have any injury updates since the show began that we want to update people on? I don't think there's anything new out there, is there?
No, sir.
Do you want to? Are you a psychic? Do you know the future? Do you know whether or not we're
Or
going
a
to see
psycho.
any of these Packers receivers out there?
I don't know.
And I guess we'll have to update people on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, seems
That's
fair.
what we're here for.
I love the Brooks. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the game day alerts honestly are really valuable. So if you're a FootClan member out there, make sure you're looking at those. It's literally what we use ourselves. We're compiling them. Brooks, all the three of us, we're following all the news in the morning, compiling one master list so we can make the right decisions Sunday morning.
Yeah, there's a lot of dependency on the Sunday news. I mean, for your last-minute changes, we tweak our rankings a lot on Sunday morning. We also do a lot of, those updates hit our website. Weather, you don't know what weather's going to be like, and as the season progresses, as we get into winter, it's another thing that you just don't know how things are going to turn until the weekend. So make sure you're following us on Twitter at the FF Baller so you can get connected to everything we got. It's time for Daily Dose.
The Daily Dose, brought to you by Draft.
All right, what kind of draft are we doing today?
We're doing the expert draft. We're going back to it where the top obvious choices have been removed, and it gets pretty difficult, even though there's three of us.
So draft.com/ballers is where we're playing, doing a head-to-head. 5 players each. We're drafting live right now. Jason's on the clock, and he...
Dang it!
Yeah, I used this strategy a couple weeks ago in the expert list, and I took Kelsey and Ertz was still in the expert level tier, so he's still available. He's too good of a player to be allowed here.
I went with Doug Baldwin with the second pick. I think that Baldwin is going to have a wonderful week. I think he's the one player that's going to eat frequently against that Rams defense up there in Seattle, and the snap count's making me happy.
And I'm going with Marvin Jones. I still believe in Marvin Jones. He leads the Detroit Lions in air yards. He leads them in average depth of target, and he can come through with big plays. And I was on the turn, so I also took Chris Thompson. I took him over Adrian Peterson, draft as a half-point PPR format, and I believe that Washington is going to have to catch up.
I think it's interesting that you took Marvin Jones over the guy I took, Kenny Golladay. Yeah. Why do you like Jones more this week? Just because of his history with the Packers?
Yes. Yeah, that also factors into it, and I'm going for big plays here with such a small roster.
Look, we just talked about this game. The two guys that I think you can play from Washington are Adrian Peterson and Jordan Reed. I took both of those guys at the turn. There's going to be a lot of points scored in that game, and I think that those two are going to be the main offensive weapons. So
we've taken 3 players from Washington.
I'm going to jump the gun here. Andy Dalton. Love the matchup, start of the week. I'm going to throw him out there. I had to choose him over some bigger players like Kirk Cousins, but I'm going for the upside.
That's actually where I was going to go. I was going to play the room because I'm on the turn and you guys need quarterbacks. So I'm scrambling a little bit. He's a great option for the New York Giants right now while Evan Ingram is out and other players are out. So I'm going to take Sterling, Shepard, and then I'm going to grab at the same time. Where did he go?
Oh, I hope you can't get him.
At the same time, I'm going to grab. I'm going to go with Jared Goff as my quarterback.
All right, I'm going to go with a player that I think has a huge ceiling this week, and that is Javorius Allen. He's down there in the list, but I think Buck Allen has a chance with Alex Collins potentially, limited with injury, limited in trust. Buck Allen is a player I absolutely adore this week, and I took him over everybody else in this expert running back.
I highlighted Buck Allen over on the Fantasy Footballers DFS podcast. We build a lineup every week, and Buck Allen is so cheap over on DraftKings, and for all the reasons you talked about. I mean, Alex Collins banged up. He's glumbling all over the place.
That's a problem.
The pass catcher and the goal line back, he's interesting this week.
All right, for my last 2 picks on the turn, I'm wanting a piece of that Falcons-Steelers game. I'm taking Tevin Coleman as my second running back. I think both him and Devonta Freeman have a great game, and I'm going to stack my Zach Ertz first overall pick with Carson Wentz at quarterback.
And I finished it up just because I want to, and I want this man to do something. Derrick Henry, do something.
I took Powell just the pick before that, and yeah, I agree with you. I don't think drafting or playing Derrick Henry seems to help that.
No, it certainly doesn't. But this is going to be a highly contested draft here. I mean, all 3 of us are projected within about 1.5 points of each other.
Now, last week you actually won one, Mike. You did not get wet. I believe Jason was in last place last week.
Yeah,
for real?
I believe that is incorrect.
Was it
me?
I win every week except this last week, so that's weird.
Don't worry, your water's coming.
You always win except for when you don't win. Is that what I?
Exactly.
That's what I heard. Okay, yeah. Actually, last week I was last. It was tight. Jason, 91 points. I had 89 points. It was
tight.
Very tight. The Ryan Fitzpatrick 4 points is
what
cost me the entire week. I beat you at every other position, but you know what? You win some and then you lose some. You know about that.
Hey, before we close out the show, want to remind you about our side podcast, The Spitballers. It's a comedy show. It's an entertainment show. If you like the shenanigans that happen during the footballers, imagine that with us talking about ridiculous would-you-rather questions. What did we draft this for this upcoming show? We recently did appetizers.
Cereals.
So we did cereals. Yeah, the upcoming show, it drops every Monday. Subscribe, Spitballers.
I mean, you've
podcast.
made it to the end of the Friday show. You have nothing to listen to right this second, so go over, check it out.
One more thing.
Breaking news.
Dalvin Cook did not practice today.
There you go.
Very unlikely that he plays. It's the Eagles, 3 straight do not practices to finish the week. If you are looking at the bottom of the proverbial barrel, who's down at the bottom? Is it Latavius Murray or is it C.J. Ham?
Well, it would still be Latavius Murray as the guy to play there, and I would pick him up. I would stash him. I'd
put him down. Pick him up, put him down.
Pick him up, put him down.
Callaway and Landry both practiced, both removed from the injury report, both going to play. Thank you for following the show. Appreciate all the reviews on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, and following us and subscribing over on YouTube.
Good luck this weekend. We love you.
Thank you.
Not you. I mean it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.